Hey guys, guy in a wheelchair here. I got my new computer. Hopefully we should be on a more regular schedule now, provided, noise levels are decent. I had one person donate to the GoFundMe campaign. I am very extremely grateful, and that person has been refunded. If you would like a tour around my new computer, let me know in the comments and I'll make that video. But since I have all that, welcome to Deception of Religion number 30. Dude, this is number 30. That's insane to me. Today we're tackling a Joyce Meyer video. I've had several people ask me if I was gonna do a Joyce Meyer video, and I've been hesitant because I know Joyce Meyer is not just a minister but a motivational speaker, and there are people in my family who have found great value in her motivational speeches. But then again, most of the people in my family are religious, so that's the kind of thing that would appeal to them. So I figured for the first video back, let's do Joyce Meyer. Today we're responding to a video from her Help Me series where somebody writes into Joyce Meyer and asks if God even exists. Well, let's see what she has to say.
Joyce, I've never been much into church, but long to have my own relationship with God. I feel He doesn't hear me or isn't listening. There are billions of people on earth. Can He hear me, see my pain and sorrow as I seek Him, or does He not even exist?
Bingo!
I'm at a crossroads, but I don't want to give up.
Well, obviously, God is everywhere all the time, and He definitely hears us even when we're not praying according to His will. He still hears us. But 1 John 5 says that when we ask according to God's will, He hears us, and we know with absolute and settled assurance that we have given to us the things that we've asked for.
So, God's everywhere all the time, and He can definitely hear us even when we're not praying according to His will. So, what you're telling me is God said dick. Nothing I didn't already know. Let me present you with this scenario. There's a rape in progress, and the person being raped cannot do anything to fight it, so they find themselves praying to God to get them out of that situation. It doesn't get any better. But God's everywhere all the time, so that must mean either He's not everywhere all the time, or the rape that is happening is according to His will. By your logic, Joyce. That's what you're saying, right? Tell me I'm wrong. If somebody can explain to me how I'm not correct, please do so. Please. I'd love to hear your explanation.
But there's nothing in there about when they manifest. And I love this statement that a delay from God is not a denial.
Well, that kind of goes with my rape example a minute ago. But we're not going to go there again. I've made my point. But I'd like to point out that this is what they do. When people have questions, why is there suffering in the world? Why is there this? Why is there that? Well, it's not according to God's will. God has a bigger plan. And the thing that you pray for probably isn't as good as what you'll eventually get. Am I right? That sounds about right to me. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. That's like, I had a shitty computer for a long time. Now, I could have just waited 3 or 4 years to get the computer I have now, but the shitty computer helped me over in the interim. It did what I needed it to do. Not extremely well, but it did. So, that would be like your prayer to God, whereas my new computer would be the greater gift that God's will has given me. So, does that mean that I shouldn't have had the shitty computer to hold me over in the meantime? No. God can't give you anything that you want. Everything that you get from God is something that He wants to give you.
Yeah.
Actually, when we're not getting what we want as quick as we think we should have it, that's when really our faith is being tested.
All right. The old, he's testing your faith mantra. That's another common one that they use. You know, it's funny how often God feels the need to test someone's faith who has already committed their lives to Him. Right? Because there's plenty of people out there that have committed their lives to God and still do not get anything that they pray for. So even though those people are already faithful to God, they've committed their lives to God, and they've committed their lives to living by the Bible, God still feels the need to test them. How far do you have to go before God says, no, I believe you now. I don't need to test you anymore. It's a constant test you're never going to pass.
And when we're growing. Now, I realize that this is somebody who's looking to know that God is real. And so they're wanting God to do something in their circumstances to prove that He's there. Well, I can't say that God never does that, but He certainly doesn't always do it, because faith is a substance of things that we hope for, the evidence of things that we do not see.
First of all, I'd just like to give Miss Joyce Meyer credit here, because that is probably the most honest thing she said in this video, at least the beginning of that sentence. He doesn't always do that. Of course he doesn't. Of course. But faith is the evidence of the things we do not see. The fuck does that even mean, Joyce? What does that mean? You can't have evidence. Like, what? Do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself? Are you listening to the words you are saying? Come on, man. This is just word soup. You're twisting words, trying to make it sound like it makes sense, so that stupid people will think it makes sense. Because in order to think that this makes sense, you have to be stupid. Those are just words put together that mean nothing. Nothing.
So I would like to encourage Jesse to look to his heart instead of his circumstances. And I mean, really, how can you not believe that God is real? I mean, to me, it would take more faith to believe that God is not real than to believe that He is.
Okay, so there's another common argument. What is this? Christian cliches, the video? But we're not even going to focus on that. I want to focus on, I would tell Jesse to look to his heart and not his circumstances. What that means is, let me translate. Don't pay attention to the fact that your circumstances aren't getting any better. Don't pay attention to the fact that God is clearly either ignoring you or not there. Don't pay attention to the fact that God's supposed to be there all the time and isn't helping you out. Think about what makes you feel good inside. Well, Jesse, you want some real advice? The truth doesn't always make you feel good.
How could we possibly even look at the way our own bodies function and are put together and just how amazing they are and think that all just kind of sort of happened one day?
Nobody thinks that happened by accident. Nobody thinks that just happened one day. It's another cliche argument. No, our bodies are so complex. How could they be so complex by themselves? Oh my God. How many cliches can you use in one video? Obviously, you've never done any study on the theory of evolution, and I don't expect you to ever. Why? Because being a minister makes you too much money. Why would you give that up? You obviously have money. I'm not going to call you a millionaire because I don't know your financial situation, but you obviously have money. And what's giving you that money? Jesus. Jesus. Preaching this cliche garbage to people who are down on their luck. It has to be people that are down on their luck, because how often does this happen? Oh, Everything's great in my life. I don't have a care in the world. My money situation is great. My bills are paid. My kids are good. Everything's fine. So let me pray to God and just let Him know. It doesn't happen. People don't pray unless they're down on their luck. And people like this prey on people that are down on their luck.
And so believing in God is the basic foundation to anyone having a good life. You know, now I don't believe that God is going to give us things that are not according to His will.
Okay, well, first of all, believing in God is the foundation for someone having a good life. I mean, my life's not the best, but it's a decent life. I mean, I'm not rich, but I'm happy. I don't have all the material things I would like to have, but I'm happy. You know what I also don't have? A belief in your God. Explain that, Joyce. The contradiction to what you just said is sitting right here. Explain it. Furthermore, you don't think that God is going to give us anything that is not in His will. So, if that's the case, why should anybody ever pray for anything? Because if it's in God's will, it's going to happen whether you pray for it or not, according to your logic. And if it's not in God's will, then it's not going to happen regardless. So why not just go about living your life and let the chips fall where they may?
So I don't know what Jesse's asking for. If he's asking for something that's not right, then God's not going to give it to him. And I think when you have a deep enough relationship with God, and it, took me a few years to get to this, but I've kind of come to the point where I believe that if God doesn't give me what I'm asking for, it's not because He's holding out on me and wanting to make me miserable. I believe it's because He has something better in mind.
Boom! There's the bomb drop, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't I call that shit? Didn't I call that shit? Now, yes, granted, I previewed this video before I started making my video, but I just skimmed through it. I just skimmed through it because I want all my reactions in my videos to be genuine. So while I heard a thing or two, I didn't thoroughly watch the video. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't too boring to respond to. With that in mind, I called that shit. Now, if that tells religious people one thing, it's that they're overly predictable. Christianity is overly predictable. I predicted that shit at the beginning. There it is. And okay, let's go back to the example I gave at the beginning. The rape victim prays to God for the rape to stop. The rape doesn't stop. So now, by Joyce's logic, it's because God has something better. Explain to me what's better than that, Joyce. Explain to me how that person is going to get something better out of that. Go ahead, I'll wait. You can't, because what you're doing is speaking nonsense to people who either are so desperate that they will believe nonsense or are not smart enough to realize that you are speaking nonsense. Again, that's how she makes her money, folks.
And I'm just not wise enough to know how to ask for that better thing yet.
Yeah, it's often mercy, isn't it?
Okay, Joyce says something interesting here. She says she's not wise enough to know how to ask for that better thing yet. So now she's saying God will give you what is His will, but you have to ask for it. Like, if it's in God's will, you'll get it, but only if you ask for it. Okay. Well, by that logic, we should all be on our knees all day praying for every conceivable thing that we can think of. Just our whole lives. Pray for everything, because eventually you're bound to hit on things that is in God's will. Just pray for shit.
So whether God gives me what I want or He doesn't give me what I want, God is still good, and He has our best interest in mind.
Whether God stops the rape or He doesn't stop the rape, He's still good and He has our best interest in mind. Point made.
And things will come out right in the end.
And as I read this question from Jesse, it says, I long to have my own relationship with God. So it seems like the Holy Spirit is wooing and working there, that there is something
Right.
that is happening, or that statement wouldn't even mean anything.
No, what that statement means is Jesse doesn't believe that God exists or doubt that God exists and is looking for someone to give him a reason to believe that God does exist because he wants to believe God does exist. But it's not because he wants a God, it's because that's what he or she has been told their whole life. If your family is religious and you've been told your whole life that God exists and that people who don't believe that God exists are sinners and heathens and going to hell, of course you're going to try and find mental gymnastics to fool yourself into believing that God exists. Who wouldn't? And as atheists, I'm sure we've all been there. Share your story about that down below.
Well, and to be honest, the thing for him to go after is not so much whatever it is that he wants to see God do, but pursuing that relationship.
Yeah.
Because when your relationship with Him is right, then you're able to trust Him to do what's right at the right time.
Okay, first of all, I hear religious people say this all the time. Make sure your relationship is right with God. Can someone explain to me exactly what the fuck that looks like? Because everyone seems to have a different opinion about what a right relationship with God looks like. It seems to be completely subjective. Is there one idea that I should follow? And if it is subjective, then Joyce should not be giving this advice to anyone because she is now pushing her subjective opinion on Jesse.
So we want to make sure that we seek God's face and not His hand, to seek to know Him and not just what He can do for us. He'll get there.
Seek God's face and not His hand. Okay. If you are looking for life advice, even religious advice, there are people that you can talk to that will give you honest advice. People that aren't making their entire living, and when I say entire living, I mean in most cases more than the average person will see in their life, off of people that are in your situation. Don't try to conversate with people who make their living off of people who need help. If you make your living off of helping people that are desperate for answers, then the way you make your living is wrong.